welcome to the deep dive. When we started looking into the sources for this one, this huge earthquake off Russia's coast, the one that sent tsunami waves, well, basically across the whole Pacific, what really hit me was how, I guess, complex but also predictable these things can be once you understand the science behind it.
Exactly. And that's what we're here for, really, to unpack it all.
We're going to dive into what happened, starting with that massive 8.8 magnitude quake near Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula. I mean, that's one of the strongest ever recorded.
Right. And then how the Pacific sort of held its breath, bracing for impact, and why the actual results were so different from place to place.
Yeah.
Our mission today is pretty straightforward. We want to pull out the key facts, the surprising bits from the sources we looked at, so you get a really good handle on this event fast. We'll touch on the science of tsunamis, definitely, how the warnings work, the human side of it, too, how people react to this kind of fast-moving threat.
So get ready to understand not just what happened, but, why it's important and what makes these events so unique.
Okay, so starting point, the earthquake itself. An 8.8. That number alone is, well, it's staggering.
It really is. Historically huge.
Absolutely. This quake, it was about 78 miles off the coast of Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky in Russia. It's now officially in the top 10 biggest ever recorded anywhere. But what makes it really significant beyond just the magnitude is how shallow it was.
Okay.
Yeah, only about 12 miles deep. And when you have an earthquake that powerful, that shallow, it acts like a giant piston pushing up on the ocean floor. It transfers its energy really efficiently into the water. That's the key insight, The shallow depth made it a very effective tsunami generator.
Right. And it wasn't just the shaking, was it? Kamchatka is on the Pacific Ring of Fire.
Very active area.
Yeah, super active geologically, tectonic plates grinding away. So maybe not a total shock that the Klishevskoye volcano nearby started erupting afterwards. Lava flows, explosions.
It definitely adds another layer to the event, though thankfully Russian officials reported pretty minimal damage from the quake itself. No injuries mentioned in our sources, but a kindergarten building did get damaged.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and a port and a fish processing plant saw some flooding from about a 13-foot tsunami wave locally in Severodvinsk.
Wow, okay. So immediate local impact, and then the wider Pacific alert goes out.
Instantly. Tsunami alerts popped up all across the basin. Japan especially reacted very quickly.
You'd expect that, given 2011.
Absolutely. Their weather agency, they upgraded their warning pretty fast, expecting waves up to maybe 10 feet. Large parts of their eastern coast, the same areas hit so hard in 2011, were ordered to evacuate. That memory, it definitely drove their response.
Yeah, you can just feel the tension, the urgency there. And the U.S. tsunami warning system kicked in too, right? Full warnings for Russia, Japan, Hawaii.
That's right. Warnings mean immediate danger, take action now.
And then for other places like Guam, Micronesia, it was a watch. What's the difference there? And then later we saw advisories. How do they decide?
That's a really important distinction. So a warning means a dangerous tsunami is imminent or expected. Evacuate if you're told to. A watch means, okay, a tsunami is possible, maybe it's just starting to form, stay alert, be ready. And then an advisory, which came later for some areas, that signals less immediate danger of widespread flooding, but still warns about strong currents, unpredictable sea level changes. Caution near the water is still key. They decide based on real-time seismic data and those ocean buoys.
Gotcha. So Hawaii, it's right there in the Ring of Fire, has a long, kind of scary history with tsunamis, one destructive one every 11 years on average.
Yeah.
What happened there this time?
Well, the first waves arrived around 7:17 p.m. local time, and the initial data showed they were less than the maximum predicted, which was nearly 10 feet.
Okay, so maybe not as bad as feared initially.
Yeah. Well, yes and no. You can't just look at the peak wave height. The shifts in water level were dramatic. Our sources point to Kahului Harbor on Maui, a NOAA tide gauge there, saw the water pull back over 2 feet.
Whoa.
And then surge up more than 6.7 feet, all in just 18 minutes. That's a total swing of over 9 feet.
That's incredible. Just the power.
Exactly. And even hours later, the tide was still bouncing around, rising and falling, maybe 3 feet within 12 minutes sometimes. That's why officials were adamant, stay away from the coast, even after they downgraded the warning to an advisory. Those currents are dangerous.
It's a chilling thought, that water pulling out and then rushing back in.
Yeah.
And our sources mentioned something interesting about Hawaii, too. Some residents feeling a bit desensitized to the sirens, partly because of that false missile alert back in 2018. That raises a really tricky point about communication now, doesn't it? How do you keep people vigilant, keep that trust without, crying wolf, Must be a huge challenge.
It's a massive challenge, that balance between preparedness and public trust. Definitely. Now, moving over to U.S. West Coast. They issued tsunami advisories for California, Oregon, Washington.
So advisories there, not warnings, meaning less risk of major flooding.
Generally, yes. Widespread inundation wasn't the main concern for most places. The real danger highlighted was those strong, unusual currents. Beaches in LA reopened, advisories got canceled for San Diego, Orange County eventually, but much of coastal California stayed under advisory because of the current threat.
And it's so specific geographically, too. Like Crescent City up in Northern California, our sources mention it's especially vulnerable. The harbor tends to amplify waves.
It does, yeah. It has a unique topography underwater.
They were expecting peak waves there between, what, almost 3 to over 5 feet, potentially lasting for 36 hours. It's not just one big wave, it's that sustained energy.
Exactly. In Port San Luis in Central California, the tide level jumped over 2.5 feet in just 12 minutes. That speaks to the power, even when it's just an advisory.
And that brings us to a really crucial point that people often miss, I think. The difference between a tsunami and a regular wave.
Right. It's fundamental. We see big surf waves, breaking curls, right? That's mostly wind energy affecting the surface. But a tsunami, as our sources explain so well, it moves the entire column of water, from the very surface all the way down to the ocean floor.
The whole thing is moving.
The whole thing. And that generates an absolutely enormous amount of energy. It's why even a seemingly small tsunami, height-wise, can be so destructive.
It sounds almost sneaky powerful, and that's why they rush inland like a flood, carrying debris, not like a breaking surf wave. Plus, they travel ridiculously fast, right?
Unbelievably fast in deep water, around 500 miles per hour, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, the speed of a commercial jetliner. They slow down as they reach the coast, but they don't break and curl in the same way.
Boy.
And another surprising thing, maybe, the time between the waves or crests. It's not seconds like surf. It can be minutes, sometimes even hours. Which leads to another danger people might not realize. That receding water. When the ocean suddenly pulls way back, exposing the seabed, that's not a curiosity, that's a huge warning sign. A wave is likely coming.
Right. Get away from the coast immediately.
Immediately, because even a tsunami less than a foot high can create currents strong enough to sweep you away. Tragically, that happened near Crescent City back in 2011. Someone died trying to photograph the incoming waves.
That's awful. It really drives home those hidden dangers, and it highlights just how vital the NOAA tsunami warning centers are.
Absolutely critical infrastructure.
The U.S. has 2 main ones, right? The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center for Hawaii, the territories, and international forecasts.
And the National Tsunami Warning Center for the mainland U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
And their staff 2,047 watching for quakes, monitoring data.
It's an incredible operation, the coordination needed for a Pacific-wide event like this. But, how do they actually know for sure, thousands of miles away, that a tsunami is really moving across the ocean? How do they confirm it's not just a local thing near the quake?
Yeah, good question. That's where the DART buoys come in. Deep ocean assessment and reporting of tsunamis.
DART buoys. Okay.
Yeah, these are sophisticated buoys placed strategically out in the deep ocean. When a potential tsunami passes underneath them, they measure the change in sea level, even really small changes way out there.
And they report that back in real time.
Exactly. Real-time data goes straight to the warning centers. That buoy data is absolutely crucial for confirming a tsunami exists, refining the forecast models, and making those calls on watches, warnings, evacuations. It's pretty amazing tech. It requires global cooperation.
It really is. So, okay, let's bring it together. We had this massive 8.8 quake, top 10 ever. It triggers this huge Pacific-wide response. Japan evacuates quickly, remembering 2011. Hawaii sees these dramatic water surges, plus that interesting issue of public warning fatigue.
Right.
The U.S. West Coast gets advisories, mostly focused on dangerous currents, not necessarily huge waves everywhere.
And it all hammers home that key difference.
Yeah.
A tsunami isn't just a big wave, it's the whole water column, moving, traveling at incredible speeds, carrying immense energy. Even if the wave height itself doesn't seem that huge, powerful currents are a major threat.
Precisely. And underpinning the response, you have the NOAA warning centers and that critical DART buoy network providing the eyes on the ocean.
Yeah, indispensable.
So this specific event, it's interesting, a truly massive earthquake triggers a Pacific-wide threat, but thankfully, for most of the U.S. at least, the damage was minimal compared to the potential. It gives us a unique perspective, doesn't it?
It really does, which makes you think, What lessons can we actually take away from a situation like this, where the potential danger was incredibly high, but it seems like preparedness, the alert systems, they worked pretty well to avoid the worst outcomes, at least in many places.
Hmm.
How do events like this one, a major alert, but maybe less severe impact than initially feared in some areas, how does that affect how people view these warnings in the future,
Hmm.
especially in places that might have had false alarms before or haven't seen major damage recently?
Right.
What does it all mean for keeping the public vigilant, ready to act when the next potentially devastating event comes along? It's something to really mull over.